Thank you again for your time, Els Moris. You joining us from Thomas More University, and please, we are waiting to hear your presentation. So the floor is yours.
Okay, I am trying to share my screen. Normally you should see a big orange square.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So thank you everybody for coming to listen today. So I'm from Thomas More in Belgium. I will be presenting actually the plans we have for a full bachelor about wheelchairs and wheelchair technology. I am stressing the part that it's plans. They are pretty firm. We really want to do this, but it hasn't started yet. We are still building the curriculum. What I'm going to talk to you about is what we have planned, what we want to do, and I'm also really very interested to hear your own thoughts and ideas about it. We do already exist. We have been around for a long time, and wheelchairs is a part of orthopedic technology in Belgium. So you will hear a lot of information also about the full orthopedic technology program that already exists and is up and running. So just briefly, who are we? Yeah, Belgium. So I think most people will know where Belgium is, but in Europe and close to London. For Thomas More especially, so in Belgium, they focus on big schools for higher education. The government would like us to join as many university colleges as possible, because that is easier with the finances. In Belgium, you hardly have any private schools. It's all public schools. So what you have is systems with university colleges or universities of applied sciences. And those groups in turn are linked to universities in short. So you have the bachelors on the one hand in the university colleges or in the universities of applied sciences like we are. And those are connected to the master's programs that are done by the universities. For us, Thomas More is the group that is linked to KU Leuven. Those of you that are into research, most of you are, might have heard of them from time to time. So we are in the province of Antwerp, so the top center of the country, although the country is already not that big. The campus where the wheelchair program will be and where the orthopedics program already is the campus of Geel, which is one of the bigger campuses of the group. It's actually a campus that is just outside of the center of a small town. So we are really out in the fields, in the green. We have a lot of room around us, which we really like. One of the things that Thomas More feels is very important, and what you will also see in the presentations later, is the fact that we try to collaborate a lot with the work fields. We really want to... Can everybody still hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. We want to have a close collaboration with the work field. That's not just orthopedics, that is everybody. For orthopedics, that has been a long history, but we try to have these joint projects with companies in the area for all of the programs that they have. And those are quite a few. It's not a school with only orthopedics or only healthcare programs. There's a lot of different programs in all of the different campuses. And that is also something that is important to us, because the multidisciplinarity that offers, we think that it might have some good options for the later wheelchair program as well. just in very short, all of the bachelor programs in Belgium are supposed to be 180 credits, so 6 semesters, 3 years. And this is just an overview of the programs that we have. All of these programs are in different campuses. So the orthopedics is in Geel. Another program can be on a different campus in a different city. And some of the programs are also being translated to English. A lot of them already started, but there's more coming, which can also be interesting for the people that are listening that are also part of a bachelor program, because it might be interesting for exchange programs. The student services, I've put this in especially because it's a big part of who we are and what we want to do. You will hear later why, but we do have very elaborate student services in the school, which guide students through everything they can encounter while they are studying with us. So we do try to keep a very close contact with all the students and help them through whatever they can encounter in the years that they are studying with us. So orthopedics. Actually, the Bachelor in Orthopedic Technology was already founded in the early 90s. At that moment, it was a program that would have like 5 or 10 students each year. Before it was founded, the orthopedic technologists, and so also the wheelchair professionals, were usually people that were trained in the work field. So occupational therapists, physiotherapists, or even people with no prior knowledge at all that were picked up by a company and that would learn on the spot, learning by doing. There was a workplace learning system that could give them a diploma at the end of, I think it was 6 years then. So 6 years of working through the week and going to school a few hours on Saturday, and then you would get a diploma of orthopedic technology, not a bachelor diploma, but at least a diploma. And those were the people that were servicing the clients and providing wheelchairs as well. As in most countries, you had the system where the person providing you with an orthosis or a prosthesis is the same person that also has to know about the wheelchairs and shoe technology, because shoe technology, wheelchairs, and all of these different things are for Belgium, I think in many countries, but not in all, are part of the job of an orthopedic technologist. So they did separate in 15 years later, so in the mid-nillies, as they say, they did separate a pedorthics program. So they started a separate bachelor, which was called the Bachelor in Shoe Technology and Sports Rehabilitation. And actually, they had still had a joint first year. After the first year, the students would choose to study to be a shoe technologist or an orthopedic technologist. And in the second and the third year, they would have a curriculum that is still together, but about half the classes were separated into things that really are special to shoe technology. Around the same time, they also started Mobilab Research Center, which is now Mobilab and Care. It's a research center that focuses on everything concerning assistive devices for people with a disability. And at the moment, the Mobilab and Care Center has a specialized part of the research center, which is specialized in only orthopedic technology. But actually, if I look at what they do around people in wheelchairs, that is not only in that division. They have research programs running on this team in several of their divisions. So then things really started to change around 2015, because we heard that the government was talking about a new legislation to organize the profession in Belgium. Also, we had been asking them for many years to start a fourth year, because if you have 3 years to start to train people that have no background whatsoever in any medical or technological profession, because that's the student that come in with us. You have 3 years and you have to train them both in orthotics and prosthetics and wheelchairs. 3 years is just not enough to teach them everything they need to know. So we want it to be a 4-year program. Actually, the government's response then was, no, that is not legal in Belgium. You're not getting your 4th year. And as a matter of fact, since we're talking to you, let us tell you as well a little bit more about the new legislation. We used to have a separate exam. Once you had graduated from school, you needed to get some experience in a company and then go for your government exam to be accredited as an orthopedic technologist in Belgium. And you had 4 different exams. You had orthotics, prosthetics, shoe technology, and wheelchairs. And we are going to stop these exams. We don't want these exams anymore. We want this process to be easier and to be more in the hands of the school. So you're going to have to change your program. So we started thinking on how should we change the program to keep up with the legislation that we expect is going to come. And then at the same time, we also had another big change. So we started with groups of 10, on very busy years, 20 students. It has been that way all the way up to 2000, 2005. And then the number started rising just a little bit, but like with 10 students each year, which is already quite a bit, but still. In 2015, we saw a big rise. And the reason for that is in Belgium, there are hardly any admission rules for higher education. That means you do need the paperwork. You need to prove that you speak the language of the program you want to be in. And you need to prove that you finished secondary school. But which secondary school, when it comes to Belgian secondary schools, which secondary schools you finished, it doesn't matter. You will be admitted, even if we can see that the level of knowledge in your secondary program is probably going to be too low. We have to admit these students. We have to give them a chance. There's just a system in place that we can advise them strongly against starting. We cannot stop them, but if they start and it doesn't work, after a while, we can send them elsewhere. We can tell them to stop and to go study something easier. But it is very difficult to refuse a student. And especially, we cannot refuse students based on the fact that we are full. We cannot be full. We're not allowed to. If 50 more students apply now, we will have 50 extra students and we will have to find a way to teach each one of them. So what happened in 2015 is that suddenly we went from the 80 students we had before, and we felt that that was already a lot and kind of the most we could handle at the time. And then we had 120 inscriptions. So suddenly we were a huge program and we had to make some changes to make that work anyway. So we went through a lot of big changes, and the final result is that in 2020, we are starting a new separated curriculum in which a student that graduates will have a diploma, bachelor in orthopedic technology, but with a specialization of orthotics or prosthetics or pedorthics or, and that's the future, wheelchair technology. We had to make a decision there. We could not start 4 new programs at the same time. The reason that we chose to keep orthotics, prosthetics, and shoe technology and postpone wheelchair is not that there's no demand of wheelchair professionals in Belgium. Actually, that demand is higher than that for orthotists and prosthetists. It's just that none of our workshops were adapted to teach wheelchairs the way we wanted it to be. We did have wheelchair courses in the program, but not as many. So we also did not have as many lecturers that could teach these subjects the way we wanted it to be, on the level that we wanted it to be. So money is always an issue. You are all linked to schools. You are all part of schools. You know how difficult it can be. We had to make a decision, and we had to decide on starting with the ones that were the easiest for us, and rather starting the wheelchair program when we were ready for it, when we were ready to do it at the level that we wanted it to be. Somewhere in the middle of all of that, there was also the fact that a lot of programs in Belgium were starting government applications to start their programs in English. International students are booming a lot in Belgium and are an important way also to finance your school. So a lot of programs were starting these applications, and we knew that if we were waiting too long, our dream of starting a program in English at some point would also evaporate. So we started application, and we really quickly got a positive response there. So in 2021, we are also starting a program fully in English. We also had to choose there. There we picked only orthotics for now. So what is our view actually on what we want to teach the students, what we want them to be when they graduate? We come from a very practically orientated program, actually. We've always invested a lot in the workshops. We've always invested a lot of time for the students in that too. They always spend around 1 full day a week in the workshop, and then all of the other courses that are not really workshop-based courses, they would also still have a big practical part in them. Still, we do feel that a bachelor level orthopedic technologist is more the person dealing with the patients than dealing with the workshop. So we have to find some kind of a balance in that. We do still teach them in the workshop to actually make a device. For the wheelchairs, it will be no different. We will teach them how to repair a wheelchair, how to repair even the electronic parts of wheelchairs. They will have to learn. They won't have to be a specialist in that. They just need to know how things work, what the possibilities of the materials and the technology are. But we focus more these days on examining the patient, on talking with the patient. What you always have 3 big flows of information towards you as an orthopedic technology. So they have to understand the information that the doctor is giving them, so the prescription usually, and the diagnosis that they get from the doctor. They have to know what that's about. They have to be able to look at the patient and ask the patient how the assistive device that they are asking is going to be part of their life. And they have their own examination. They have to be capable of doing a physical exam on a patient to see if there's any contractures of joints or any special thing that they need to keep in mind when they are choosing for a specific wheelchair or other assistive device for this patient. They take the measurements, of course, they fit and adjust. They know the basics of the workshop, but they're not specifically trained to make a full orthosis. They will do that once a couple of times during their program, but they're not graded on that as much as they are graded on the decisions that they're making. Actually, when we started to look at the legislation that was coming at us, the fact that the government wanted us to separate the programs more, and we started to look at how to do that. At first, to be honest, we were not too happy about that decision. We did feel like, well, we've been one profession for so many years and it's always worked well. So why do we need to change now? That lasted until we started to really look at the courses and to really if you look at this list, look at how much of this a prosthetist needs, an orthotist needs, and so on. And then we saw that actually it does make sense if you look at, for example, comparing a prosthetist to an orthotist. Socially, they both need the skills. They need to be able to talk with the patient and to understand what the question exactly is and how their assistive device will fit into the life of that patient. Technically, there's already quite a difference because in an orthosis, your possibilities are a little bit limited by the limb that is still in there. If your limb cannot move as far as your hinge can, if your hinge offers more possibilities than the joint within it does, well, it makes no sense to put something very very detailed in there if your limb cannot move with it. With a prosthesis, well, you can have joints that can do almost anything because you don't have to keep in mind a limb that is still in there because the limb's no longer there. On the other hand, if you look at both the same professions medically, a prosthetist has a much easier job actually, because if you come to look at it, it really doesn't matter why the person has no limb. Of course, vascular disorders and underlying diseases matter, but your prosthesis is not a treatment, it's an assistive device. If you look at an orthotist, your orthosis is often part of a treatment and therefore they need far more elaborate medical background. So you start to see the difference between the professions, and then you also start to see where those four professions have parts that are the same and parts that can be really very different. We still have orthotics, prosthetics, pedorthics, and mobility that we are trying to develop. And the way we look at it is phase one is a basic year. There is a lot of knowledge that is the same throughout these four professions. And we also feel that they should be partly together because in a multidisciplinary team, they will work so closely together. So we need something to be the same. Basic year, phase one is the same for everybody. In the basic year, we have a few specialized courses that will help them decide which of the four professions is most suitable for them. And then phase 2 and 3 are separated. In phase 2 and 3, not all courses are separate, just most. But if you look at, for example, orthotics and shoe technology, they will have anatomy of the lower limb together. Orthotics and mobility, they will have pathology of the whole body. Diseases like multiple sclerosis, they will learn about that together. But if you look at practicals, for example, that will be separated. Orthopedic technology is separated. You do see a fourth year in the corner there. Well, that is a year that is actually not part of the schooling system. So the schooling system allows for only 3 years. The fourth year is a year of experience, guided experience that everybody has to do if they want to work in Belgium. So anyone from another country going through these programs after year 3, they just have to follow what their country, the country they want to work in, asks of them. Just for Belgium, that demand is the fourth year. So what we are developing right now is the program Bachelor in Orthopedic Technology. So the diploma is still the same as the diploma of an orthotist, a prosthetist, or a pedorthist, but the specialty will be wheelchair professional. As all Thomas More programs, we will be working closely together with the work field, but in this case, even closer than normally, because we already decided that it doesn't necessarily make sense to build separate workshops for the mobility devices program, it makes more sense to have them learn more in the field. So then we have to talk to the companies. There's of course another reason, again, finances. If you have to build a workshop yourself, whereas the companies already have these workshops and they keep up with time anyway, if they want to help us, it is a lot cheaper and a lot easier for us to organize some courses in the companies actually. So we are working closely together with them, which helps, which is possible because it's actually the work field that is really asking us to speed up this wheelchair professional training because they need the people to do the job. We wanted to be in a dual learning system because that means a part of the program is dealt with in the companies. It is not a workplace learning system. The difference is in a workplace learning system, you have students that are really just on the job working there and at the same time taking courses in school, but those two are quite separated. In a dual learning system, it is the school that really determines what they need to learn. It's just that they don't learn it in school, they learn it in the company, but they still have a lot of assignments they need to do in the company, and they come back with, they take it back to school, and we will be the ones coaching them through these assignments and talking with the company they work with to see what needs to be done. It is also in a workplace learning system, one student belongs to one company for the whole duration. In a dual learning system, you can have 5 students in one company for a while, and after that they go to another company, or then it's going to be 3 students only and 2 separate. They go wherever they can learn what they need to learn. So it's a bit of a difference in the 2 systems. So, and at the moment we are waiting for the final approval and we're building the curriculum. We hope that we can start as soon as possible, probably not next year yet, but we hope we can start the year after. We'll see what the curriculum looks like. So the first year, that's already determined. The wheelchair professionals will have this curriculum in their first year. That is the curriculum that we're already running for orthotics, prosthetics, and pedorthics. Anatomy, biomechanics. OrthoLab is practical classes. In the practical classes, also the wheel professor on all kinds of measurements. So they will learn to take a scanning measurement. They will learn to take a plaster measurement. All of these things they will learn as well. So they still have some basics together with orthotics, prosthetics. They will learn all of the really basic workshop techniques that the other professions need as well. Orthopedic technological design, that is a course that starts with material science, and bit by bit they bring in physics and mechanics systems. So it's really designed. They will have exercises specialized on wheelchairs, but it also works the other way around. The orthotics and prosthetics students and pedorthic students, they do also get the wheelchair professional exercises as well. So they will always share their knowledge. Scientific skills, of course. Orthopedic cases, that is really about which assistive device to give to which patient, no matter what the background is. And communication is how to get the, how to speak to your patient, make sure that your patient has all the information they need and check that they understand it. And also, how do you get the right information from your patient in the most efficient way? Because that is a big thing for a wheelchair professional. You can have exactly the same patient, but they live in another part of the country, in another situation. They will need a completely different wheelchair, of course. This is just as an example, this is what orthotics looks like. So you could imagine a curriculum where the word orthosis is just always changed by, looking for the word right now. Instead of orthotics, it says wheelchairs. It will be a little bit like that, we estimate, but not completely, since a lot of those courses will be adapted towards dual learning system. Orthotics, prosthetics, and pedorthics don't have the dual learning system. Wheelchair professionals will. And third phase, same thing. Third phase is always a lot about work placement and bachelor's thesis, but there's still a few more courses that they do have to take in their third year. This is just the things that we believe that we can use as a good background to start this program. I would think that we need to add one more thing. We all know, especially in wheelchairs, electronics is already very strong, much stronger than the background that most orthotists and prosthetists need, although it's coming up, but it's different. So on using the fact that we do have applied computer science and electronics and technology programs in the school to create some multidisciplinary projects to help our wheelchair professionals to learn more about electronics, about the daily life of a person with a disability that is using a wheelchair, about all the things that they need separate from orthotists and prosthetists and pedorthists. I am not going to play. You are going to have the presentation afterwards anyway, so I just added some of the videos for those who are interested in seeing more. There's video of the campus, of the clinical room, the workshops, and some other things. I just invite you to look at them later. If you want to keep an eye on what we're doing and when we are actually starting, it might be a good way to either link you to my LinkedIn page or find us on Facebook or Instagram. Whenever we have news on when we're actually starting, it will certainly be all over the social media. Okay, I would like to thank you to the presentation, and actually I am really interested in what you all have to say, if maybe people have seen things that are lacking in the curriculum that we are planning or have other questions.
Thank you so much for your presentation. All the very best from the ISWP team for your program. So I will now open up the floor for questions from the team. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, Sarika raised your hand. Go ahead, please.
Good morning. I just have a quick question. If your program is the 3 years, and I liked the layout of your classes, what type of preparatory work do they have before they come in for a lot of those orthopedic classes and such?
You mean before they come into the first year, or?
Yeah, before they come into the first year.
Actually, none. That is the thing. The students that come into the first year, they are coming straight from secondary school. And those can be students that had scientific subjects in secondary school. Usually they are, but it doesn't have to be. Actually, we've had a few students coming in with a background like a student that studied bakery so baking bread in the secondary school, and others that did like beauty services, which are both things that you would not expect in orthopedic technology, yet they started and actually they even succeeded. We would have advised strongly against that, but they started against our idea. they worked hard and they still managed to finish. Actually, so we cannot refuse them. It is the truth that about 1/3 of the students that starts the program don't make it till the end, and there's only 1/3 that makes it to the end in the time that was foreseen. So there's only about 1/3 of students that start this September that will actually graduate in 3 years. Another third that will graduate maybe a year later because they had to repeat some classes, and another third that will drop out sometime. Hopefully, usually within the first year.
And specifically within some of your wheelchair courses, I know you spoke a little bit. How in depth are you getting into some of the, technique and fitting when it comes to more of like the motorized and computer based systems?
Well, we actually want that to be a very important part of the program, because we do believe that the wheelchair professionals that graduate, they should be people that are really capable of understanding the difference between the different engines of the electronic wheelchairs, that are capable of installing a system in the house that allows these wheelchair users to use the domotics systems of their house to open the door, to pick up the phone and such. Apart from that, also specialized bikes, actually anything on wheels that helps the mobility of a person with a disability will be part of the curriculum. They will have to learn it at some point during the 3 years.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you. When we have a question in the chat from Janet, what type of students will you be looking for? And can this be done post-professional?
We are looking for motivated students. So normally the big group of our students are people that just ended secondary school and are looking for higher education, college or university. Well, we are college level, of course, University of Applied Sciences seen internationally. So normally we get people that are just coming off high school. But not always. We do try to have options for people that are already in the work field, because throughout the years we've seen for shoe technology, orthotics and prosthetics that we already had, that there's a lot of people that are working as, for example, an occupational therapist, then learn about the profession of an orthopedic technologist and want to go back to school. But by that time, they probably already have mortgages to pay and husbands or wives or kids to look after. So they cannot come back to school full time. They have exemptions anyway, because some of the parts of the program are the same. So for example, for the programs that are already up and running, we have the working students program, in which they come to school 1 day a week. They have all of the physical courses on that 1 day. So the practicals and anything that requires them to be physically present in school on 1 day. And then the rest of the week, there's some online classes, but those are all videotaped, and they can take these classes after their work.
Great, thank you so much. We have another question in the chat from Vera. When choosing the assistive device, the wheelchair professional would not have to take into account the cause of disability at all. Is the cause of disability considered at any step of wheelchair service provision?
Absolutely. I'm thinking, did I say something wrong there? Because that is certainly not what I wanted to bring across. No, people in a wheelchair, actually the wheelchair professionals are with the ones that need the most pathology classes. Wheelchair professionals, okay, a wheelchair is not part of the therapy usually, but in a wheelchair, it is very important why that person is in a wheelchair, because that also determines, is this a degenerative disease? If it is, then you need to adapt your wheelchair to the degeneration that you can expect for that patient. So certainly actually, I can combine this question with the previous one, maybe. The type of student we are looking for is motivated people that are interested in both people and in technology. So not only technology for sure.
Well said, thank you
If
so
they're
much.
only interested in technology, they could go study applied computer science. But actually, if I look at it in the multidisciplinary projects that we're doing, I see students that are already in the electronics, electromechanics, or applied computer science programs that see us and think, hey, those get to work with people and those get to really do something for someone with a disability. I like that. Actually, that is the perfect student for us.
Perfect, thank you so much. And just wanted to hear other questions from the team. Does anybody have any other questions? Yes, Sarah, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Kritika. Thank you, Els, for your presentation. Really interesting what you have been doing. And I just wanted to share that is super interesting to me to see how the different legislation in a country are able to modify the way we deliver our courses and the classes we do, and how even though at the beginning you thought it wasn't the best approach, now it makes a lot of sense. And for me especially, it makes a lot of sense to have particular specialties in orthopedics instead of just having a lot of information with a broader type of users. So I think it's super interesting what you have been doing, and I will start to follow you on social media to learn more about it.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you, Sarah. Okay, so any other final comments, questions for Els? Have a comment in the chat. Janet says, I really like the crossover with orthotics and seating because we often have to refer out to another specialist in the US. Thank you for that comment, Janet.
Can I ask a question there?
Yes,
for
please.
everybody? How should I put my question? I'm just wondering what other programs like this are out there, schools where they offer both the wheelchair programs and the orthotist, prosthetist, or a pedorthist program, because I'm interested in knowing how much they cross over between those programs.
Hello.
Hi, Nidia.
Hello.
I work in a Colombian university. We have a school of physiotherapy, but we only have a program with wheelchair formation, not with orthotics and prosthetic formation.
Mm-hmm. I do understand that there is an orthotist and prosthetist program in Colombia, right?
Yes, there is.
Yes.
Yes,
Sarah,
there are.
go
It's called SENA, and they are actually thinking on creating another bachelor's, well, like less time than a bachelor, like a 3-year program on wheelchair manufacture, but not service provision. So the new program will only relate to how to build the wheelchair, but not how to deliver services for the users. But it's still a plan, so I'll keep you posted, Els, in terms of what they come up with.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Sarah and Nidia. So we have a comment from Janet. So very few schools in the US specialize in wheelchair education. Most of the time, here it is covered minimally in PT and OT schools. University of Pittsburgh is starting courses, but more for the equipment providers. So ONP are their own track and degree.
Uh-huh. Good to know. I have tried to find answers to this question a few times before, it seems that in a lot of countries, wheelchair provision is really part of an occupational therapist job and not an orthopedic technologist.
I believe that typically depends on the setting that you're in and the education of the individual. As a wheelchair practitioner myself and an occupational therapist in my facilities that I work in, I do a lot of the wheelchair evaluations, but there are some other facilities where the physical therapists do that service. So it really does depend on, what location you're in. But as far as education, OT, occupational therapy standards, require wheelchair education as a part of their new standards. And I'm not sure of PT, but I know they have a piece of that in their standards.
Yeah.
And Isabel says, I don't know any wheelchair program in Mexico, but I'll definitely look into it.
Thank you. One of the things I also really believe is that we go way further by cooperating, which is obviously what everybody here thinks, because otherwise they wouldn't be here.
Absolutely. Okay, so any other final comments and questions from the team?
Yes, I have a last question. I would like to know if, because you talk about the 4th year says an optional, and there is a practical activity, but the other 3 years, there are practice or no?
Yes, yes, absolutely. But the thing is, after you have finished the 3-year program, you get your bachelor's diploma and you can go into the work field. The only thing is that the Belgian government feels like you would need like at least a year of really working with patients before you are capable of providing service for a patient without someone checking you and looking over your shoulder. And there's no room for a full year of work experience within those 3 years. So in Belgium, if you want to work with patients, after the 3 year, you have to go to a company that is already government accredited, get a job there for at least a year. And then after that year, you turn in your diploma to the government, plus the proof of what you've been doing over the last year. And then you will get your personal accreditation. And after that, you can work with patients on your own responsibility. And you would also be legally okay to start your own company, although usually they wait 10 to 15 years to do that, but you would be okay after that 1 year.
Okay, but at that moment, the university is already done everything. Is the government who make the supervision, everything?
The 3 years are the school's responsibility. That 4th year will be a little bit of a shared responsibility because it is the government that accredits at the end. But to keep an eye on what the students have been doing in that 4th year, to keep an eye on if that is actually meaningful work, they will still rely on our judgments in a way.
Okay, thank you.
They will, for example, these people in that 4th year, they will still have to write reports on the patients that they see and on the work that they are doing. And someone actually does have to read these reports and answer at the end if this is good enough or not. We expect that in most cases, that won't be a problem, but it actually has to be working with a service provider, with someone that sees patients. It cannot be only working in the workshop, which is what sometimes happens now, or you cannot, after the 3 years, go work for a company that only sells off-the-shelf equipment and then ask for accreditation. No, you have to actually see patients.
Okay.
We do have students that do not look for that government accreditation because once they graduate, they all they want to do is go work for, I don't know, Donjoy as a representative. That happens a lot. They don't need that government accreditation. So they will not be doing that 4th year. They will just start working after the 3 years. Also, those who want to go on to research and do a master's program, they will not do that 4th year. They will just simply, after the 3 years, they have their bachelor diploma and they go on to a master's degree somewhere. And somewhere for Belgium is Strathclyde University in the UK, or now post-Brexit, it's going to be probably PFH in Germany or the master's program in Sweden.
Thank you. I have 2 follow-up questions. So how long is this government accreditation valid for? And is there a number of clients that the student has to see in order to get the government accreditation?
The accreditation is permanent. Once you have your accreditation, you will only lose it if you make really big mistakes and they just take your accreditation away. Or the system that is also being developed is that people with the accreditation, they have to do a few days of extra training each year. And you will have to prove that extra training each year to keep your accreditation. But there's no time limit stamped on it. And number of patients, at this moment, the people that are graduating in 2 weeks, they are still in the, graduating under the old system, and they will have to do 2 years of work after they graduate before they can do their exam. And they are not controlled that closely. So if they just prove with the contract that they've worked for 2 years in one of the recognized orthopedic companies, it's okay. Now it's going to 1 year, and that's going to be a lot stricter, but it's not completely finished yet. The government is still working on how strict rules will be. It will certainly not be a certain number of patients. It will be more based on reports of what they've been doing and on the fact that they can actually prove that they've seen a normal number of patients with of various backgrounds. So they have to prove that they haven't only seen lower limb prosthetic patients, but they've also seen some other things like for a prosthetist, also upper limb, for example.
Got it. Thank you so much. Okay, so any other final comments or questions from the team before we close out? Okay, thank you so much again, Els, for your time and for your wonderful presentation. We really enjoyed it. And I'll be sure to share the presentation with the team. And I will also add this recording to our YouTube channel. So thank you so much again for your time. And everybody, have a wonderful, great day, afternoon, wherever you are. So thank you so much.
Thank you all for listening.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.